China has won the competition for electric cars. At least so far. And there's still no sign that it's going to lose this battle. Even Tesla has surrendered to Chinese manufacturers and China itself to sustain its electric car business. But how is this possible? How did China dominate the electric car market? How did Chinese manufacturers take control of this segment? In this video, you will understand how China won the electric car battle and how it controls the entire process from start to finish. In recent years, China has been the stage for an invasion of electric vehicles, not only in its own country but also with exports worldwide. Recently, Chinese-origin electric and hybrid vehicles have begun to shake up the market, especially with brands like BYD and Great Wall Motors. The situation is so impressive that BYD has surpassed Tesla and become the largest electric car manufacturer in the world. Currently, 40% of new vehicles purchased in China are electric. But what is the reason behind this electric vehicle invasion? To begin with, let's go back in time. Specifically, to 2011. In that year, China took its first steps in the electric market. At that time, only 500 electric cars were manufactured. However, in the following years, the Chinese government began strongly encouraging the industry, which, besides being promising from a marketing perspective, also became highly interesting for the nation's plans. And that's where a set of factors comes into play. From a marketing standpoint, over time, Chinese automakers tried to enter the global market and compete with German and Japanese manufacturers, especially in the Asian market. However, time passed, and markets systematically rejected Chinese cars. Even with efforts to offer more competitive prices, markets did not embrace Chinese vehicles. This led the government and local manufacturers to target a single market niche that seemed very promising: electric vehicles. Thus, since the early 2010s, the focus shifted towards continuous improvement within this segment to capture global market attention. However, besides being an interesting market segment, the Chinese government understood that the electric market was geopolitically important. This is because, until then, China was extremely dependent on oil from other countries to fuel its economy. Today, the Red country consumes 13% of the global oil supply annually, ranking second only to the United States, which consumes 20%. To acquire this oil, the Chinese need to negotiate with a series of countries, especially those in the Middle East, which are frequently involved in conflicts and tensions. Additionally, the shipping routes for the oil to reach China are not the most favorable or friendly, significantly influencing the final cost. All of this makes the price uncertain and puts China at the mercy of the market. To break free from this passive position, the government understood that it was necessary to stimulate the electric vehicle industry, especially to escape dependence on foreign oil. Another reason is air pollution. According to a study conducted by the government itself, 38% of the Chinese population lives in areas with impure air, and 1/3 of this pollution is exclusively caused by the combustion of automotive fuels. In this way, the choice for electric vehicles was more than a market vision, it was a health issue, at least according to them. Faced with these issues, the government began to stimulate the entire electric industry from start to finish. The first stimulus was the commitment to purchase thousands of electric trains, cars, and buses. This immediately put major manufacturers on the electric route, especially BYD, which supplies a significant portion of the state's bus fleet. Additionally, the state invested in creating public charging points for both buses and cars as a way to encourage the adoption of electric vehicles. Over time, the government also started granting credits and incentives to manufacturers that began producing electric vehicles in Chinese territory. Such a robust policy that even Tesla decided to manufacture a large part of its vehicles in China. Since the credits enable a more profitable activity for Elon Musk's company. To complete the picture, Chinese labor managed to keep pace with the emerging electric car industry. Given the simplicity of the structure of electric vehicles, the cheap labor of Chinese workers was a perfect match for the electric car industry. Cars with high added value and inexpensive labor, coupled with government incentives, an operation that motivated manufacturers to put even more effort into the market. This leap in productivity happened in a short period. On the other hand, the Chinese government also strongly encouraged the adoption of electric cars by drivers. Similar to other big cities, it is common in large Chinese cities to have a car rotation system on weekdays. To promote the purchase of electric cars, the government began issuing the so-called green plates, licenses that exempt electric cars from the rotation system. This also provides discounts in public parking, toll exemptions, among other benefits. This package led Chinese consumers to make a rational decision when buying a domestic electric vehicle instead of a combustion engine vehicle. These incentives spurred major manufacturers to flood the local market with electric options. After all, there was infrastructure, incentives, and a consumer market highly induced to buy an electric vehicle. To complete the picture, a significant portion of these consumers only travels in the vicinity of major Chinese cities, where there is ample infrastructure for charging electric vehicles. Instead of following Tesla's approach, which offers luxury electric models, Chinese automakers began offering vehicles of all styles and sizes. They adopted a strategy of providing more features than Western brands at a lower price. This ranges from models similar to Tesla's to popular compact cars and even vehicles used by government authorities. In just a few years, the Chinese automotive industry has specialized in the production of electric cars and components, including batteries that are now used not only in Chinese vehicles but also in foreign automakers' vehicles. Even Tesla, which stood out for its pioneering role in the market, will now receive batteries from the Chinese company BYD. In addition to government incentives, a developing market, and cheap labor, another factor that aids China is the abundance of raw materials for the production of electric car components. This is because the country has vast reserves of lithium, cobalt, and nickel, elements necessary for manufacturing these items, adding another competitive advantage. Moreover, between 2020 and 2021, while the world experienced extended periods of closures with some relaxations, China opted for short and extremely strict closures. This difference allowed Chinese automakers to achieve much higher production than the main competitors in the electric car market during this period. Chinese automakers gained more ground in this competition since they produced and sold more cars than all global competitors. The combination of all these elements gave China and its automakers a significant advantage in the electric car competition. The near mandate from the Chinese government for market electrification led a large number of consumers to quickly adopt electric vehicles. In contrast, in other countries, the issue of electric cars is still controversial, and their adoption is slow. Apart from doubts about whether the environmental impact of electric cars is real or not, many consumers in other markets still question the efficiency and necessity of electric cars. Even the price difference to own an electric car may not justify the investment. In the United States, for example, electric cars are not only more expensive than a significant portion of the market but also have not yet won over a large portion of the local population that regularly commutes long distances. Electric cars still do not perfectly meet the needs of those who commute long distances regularly. Furthermore, with the exception of California, most U.S. states do not yet provide an efficient infrastructure for users to regularly charge electric vehicles affordably. This creates an infrastructure problem that deters a significant portion of consumers. Additionally, there is an ideological component that places electric cars on one side of the political spectrum, while the other side believes that electric cars are merely an imposition by a global elite. What are your thoughts on this? In any case, electric cars are still considered expensive in major markets. However, it hasn't been all smooth sailing for the Chinese market. Since Tesla set up in the city of Shanghai in January 2020, local manufacturers have faced a significant impact. 80% of them decided to exit the segment as they could no longer compete with Musk's company and local market giants like the leading BYD. This might lead the local government to reconsider its option to encourage foreign automakers to establish themselves in their territory. On another front, several countries that started receiving vehicles manufactured in China began boycotting them through tariffs and import taxes. These measures make Chinese vehicles much more expensive and less competitive. This protectionist policy has been widely used in the United States, aiming to enable companies like Ford and Chevrolet to respond to the Chinese in the coming years. This behavior is likely to be intensified by other countries. This situation poses an interesting paradox. While in China, the government first intervened and then allowed a quasi-free market where Chinese companies compete with foreign ones, in the US and other countries, there is state protectionism to prevent local companies from being defeated by the Chinese. Regardless, time will tell whether China's efforts lead to only a momentary leadership or if it will surge ahead in market dominance. What do you think? Will China continue to lead? Share your opinion with us.